I think I know everybody here. So, hi, welcome to another week of our lectures. And tonight I'm talking about parents and children. We can find this in the Gospel, chapter 14, item 9. And if you were here last week, then you heard Marcia talk about respecting and honoring our parents. So this week I'll be following the same lines, but now we're going to be more honoring and respecting our kids. And to do that, and also a little disclaimer here, you don't have to be a parent or have kids to have this be useful for you, because I don't know, let's say you have nieces or nephews, little cousins, neighbors, maybe you're gonna have kids later in this reincarnation, maybe you're gonna have kids in the next reincarnation, or also it could be helpful for you to understand how your parents raised you. So it's still overall very useful, even if you are not currently a parent. So let me share my screen. And share. And that's not the right share. This is that. You guys see my presentation or something else? I don't.
I see a flower.
I see a flower too. Let me new share. I think I'm gonna wrong. There we go. Okay.
Yes.
Good. Okay, so parents and children. What is one word that describes parenthood to you guys? What comes to mind? So unmute yourself and talk to me.
Work. Hard work.
Yes.
Hard work, yes.
Yes.
Patient.
Dedication.
Dedication.
Understand.
Yes.
Love.
Love.
Mission.
Mission.
Responsibility.
Responsibility. Lots of words. I have some examples here. Let me go back onto click my screen. Mission. Arduous. Commitment. 365 days a year. Gratifying. Love. Dedication. Chaos. Selflessness. 24/7. Patience. Rewarding. Blessing. Exhausting. Fulfilling. Beautiful. Emotional. Priceless. And I'm sure there are many other words that describe this as well. Parenthood is very complex. Tonight I will be using this book. It is, let me see, where's my camera? No, and of course this is really bad. It's probably backwards. But in Portuguese, it is Saúde da Relação Pais e Filhos. Okay, so we don't have this book in English. It's only in Portuguese. It is by Ilírio. I'm going to butcher his name. Can anybody say his name for me so I don't say his name wrong?
Alírio Cirqueira.
Yes, okay. And many of you may know him because he actually came to Jazz, gave a few lectures and workshops for us. And a little bit more about him is he has several degrees in psychiatry, psychology, and psychotherapy with 16 years in practice. He's a spiritist, and he gives lectures in Brazil and internationally. And he writes many, many, many books, and he has many, many video seminars on YouTube on lots of different subjects. And he focuses on Spiritism and pretty much, you know, self-betterment. Let me close my little here. So that's him. And so based on this book, I'm going to tell you guys what I've learned from this book, separated into 3 different subtopics. The mission of parenthood, parent-child relationship, and mission accomplished. Are we doing our best that we can do? And having these 3 topics in mind, I wrote a poem that is going to kind of summarize what we're going to talk about today. If you guys heard my poem last time, I enjoy writing poems about this. So, we are children of God, and in humanity we are brothers. Temporarily, we have the role as father or mother. Following the law of love, it is our duty to mold the character of our child, however challenging and bold. God invites us to co-create and collaborate with parenthood as our mission. We must strive our best under any condition. Mom connects baby to God, and dad connects baby to earth. We are crucial role models since baby's birth. Due to her double umbilical cord, mom has an extra special bond. She has a type of sixth sense. She quickly responds. What do we want in regards to the relationship we have with our child? Do we want her to be wild or lovingly mild? Directive, oriented, and suggestive are the types of parenting roles we can use wisely throughout the years to achieve the goal. Authoritarian, authoritative, uninvolved, or permissive are the parenting styles that could make it right or miss it. To accomplish the mission, we must put limits but be consistent. Pray to God and the good spirits for assistance. Teach her the law of cause and effect and the consequences we should explain. Then good character she shall gain. Remind her that no one is perfect and encourage her too, for soon she won't be the babe you once knew. Following the law of love, it is our duty to mold the character of our child, however challenging and bold. So that summarizes what I'm going to be talking about today. Everyone can still hear me, right? Good? Okay. So, mission of parenthood. Spirit's book 582. Can parenthood be considered a mission? There is no question that it is a mission. It is a serious duty, the responsibilities of which will exercise a much more significant impact on people's future than a person might think. So we're going to talk about collaboration with God, the other umbilical cord, and roles of mom and dad. So we are a family, we are mother and father, and we are invited by God to co-create, which means that we are creating a baby in the mother's body. We can't do that by ourselves, right? God is co-creating the body with us. We're borrowing our body, or we're lending our body. And then after the baby is born, we are invited by God to collaborate with him and to help this spirit go onto a path of improvement, of bettering ourselves, because that's why we are incarnated, to improve our morals and how we act. And therefore, it's important also for us to remember that we are in a world of trials and expiations, and therefore nobody is perfect, and we are all imperfect spirits trying to perfect our morals and trying to become better people. And so many times spirits, our children who will come and reincarnate into our family, perhaps could have hurt us in the past, or maybe we've hurt them. There's lots of different complications that could have gone on. And so it was very important for us to remember to practice love in our family, because we don't know what happened in the past, and we are here to perfect ourselves and know that we are not perfect, and there is no perfect family here on the world of trials and expiations. There may be a couple, but it's not the majority. The other umbilical cord. So we all know that we have this physical umbilical cord that's attached to the baby in our stomach to help nourish the baby, and it is cut off at birth. But there is another umbilical cord that Illyrio talks about in the book, the fluidic energetic umbilical cord. And this is a cord that pretty much unites the perispirit of the baby to the perispirit of the mother. And so this is why there is such a strong bond between mother and baby. You can almost say that that's why a mother has a sixth sense. She knows what her baby needs. In the middle of the night, she knows if the baby moves just a little bit, well, maybe dad is fast asleep and he doesn't hear anything. So this umbilical cord is very strong until approximately 7 years of age. And then afterwards, it starts to get a bit lighter, and then it disappears altogether right at the beginning of adolescence. And this umbilical cord could be developed by another person. Let's say if the kid is adopted by another mother or has another caregiver that's very close to the person. So that can also be developed with another person. That doesn't have to be necessarily biological mom. The roles of mom and dad. So let's take a look at a passage that is from Our Home, No Solar by Andre Luis in chapter 20, that Laura goes and explains the mother and the father roles in a house. The home may be compared to the lines of a right angle on the plane of divine evolution. The vertical line is the female sentiment and has to do with the creative inspirations of life, has to do with God, has to do with morals. And the horizontal line is the male sentiment concerned with achievements in the field of common progress, pretty much like survival. The home is the sacred conversion point where man and woman meet in order to understand each other correctly. Continuing on this line, Spirit's book 822a. In order to be perfectly just, ought legislation proclaim an equality of rights between men and women? Equality of rights, yes, but not of functions. Let man busy himself with the outer side, survival and being in society of life, and woman with its inner side, with God, with morals, and each sex according to its special aptitude. And so this doesn't mean that you're always going to be stuck in, in the female function, no, because each reincarnation we perhaps change sexes, so you get the balance of both sides. So here we have a graph from Illyria's book here. If you guys have just gotten here, we have talking about this book here, and of course my camera. Okay, it's a bad image. Anyway, it's relation of parents and kids. So he says again that the mother is the role model of God, and her role is to teach the child about God, to teach about prayer, to teach about these universal laws. And then the father's role model is that of earth, to teach how to behave in society, to kind of survive. I kind of think of like caveman, you got to go and fight for your food, just the typical survival. And then the kid is hopefully going to learn from both of these models if they are in a balanced family. So going now to parent-child relationship, what do I want in regards to the relationship I have with my child? Do I want to improve or deform their character? So this book talks a lot about that our role as parents are to help mold the character of our child, because again, they are an imperfect spirit, they come with a past, and maybe they come with some bad tendencies, some good tendencies, and our goal of reincarnating is to better ourselves. And as parents, we have that role to help direct the child, because as the child is younger, they're a little bit easier to help, hey, let's go this way because this way is good for you. Because we all know that as we're older, it's much harder for us to change because we're kind of stuck in some of our ways already. So as parents, we have that role to help guide that character into becoming better. So what are some roles that we have that Illyria puts here, roles that we have? As co-collaborating with God. Parents have the role of collaborating with God by observing their child's individual characteristics, reinforcing the positive ones and correcting the negative ones. And they can do this in a few different ways. Directive role is when the parents direct the child to practice good, and there's little to no abstract explanation or reason, and I'll explain this a little bit more on the next page. Oriented role is when the parents orient their child to practice good, add in a little bit more abstraction, where the first one, they don't really have so much explanation. And the third one is suggestive role, when they only suggest their child to continue practicing the ones they learned in childhood. So to be more specific here, each of these are related to a different age range. So when the kid is young, approximately 0 to 7 years old, you will use this directive role. For example, Leo talks about an inappropriate movie. Let's say the child wants to watch a movie that has maybe violence in it and has, I don't know, some bad language in it. And the kid wants to watch a movie. And then you're going to direct them and say, this movie is not appropriate for you. Let's go and watch this one that's good for you. You're not going to have a lot of explanation. You're not going to go and say, oh, there's lots of bad language, because a 3-year-old is not going to understand that. You're just going to go and direct them to good. Where they get a little bit older, approximately 7 to 12 years old, you're going to direct them and say, hey, this movie is not good for you because there is some bad language, or it's not going to give you a good example, because the child is already older and is able to have some more ideas, these abstract ideas, and is able to understand a little bit more. So directive, and you're going to explain it. And then starting adolescence, approximately 12 to 18 years old, you're going to orient, and you're going to say, you're going to have the explanation, you're going to dialogue with the teenager because they're able to understand things much more, and you're going to explain why this is not good. And if they still choose not to follow it, then you're going to be directive, and you can be like, no, this is what we're going to do. So each thing, each role that we have depends on the age of the child and how they're able to abstract the ideas of why this is going on. And then when the kid is 18, 34, 52, you shouldn't be telling them what to do anymore. Then you would be interfering with their life. And at this point, Alira suggests that you do only the suggestive collaboration role. Hey, maybe this movie's not so good for you, but ultimately you have to respect your child's free will, and they make their own choices. All you can do is suggest. For parenting styles, we can find this not only in this book, but also on psychology websites. 4 different parenting styles. We have authoritarian, permissive, authoritative, okay, which is different, 1 and 4. And we have 3 uninvolved. Let's take a little closer at this. Authoritarian, focus on obedience, punishment over discipline. Pink one, permissive. They don't enforce rules, and they say, kids will be kids. The blue one, authoritative, creates positive relationship and enforces rules. And the purple, uninvolved, provides little guidance, nurturing, and attention. So let's go into each one of these a little bit more specifically as Illyrio goes and analyzes them. We have the authoritarian, unhealthy relationship. It's a rigid, authoritarian, vertical relationship. So we have the mother and the father, our boss of the kid, except for the line is bold. So that means they're a boss and they will not stand down. You must listen to them no matter what. Characteristics of these type of parents, they have rigid limits. They punish, oftentimes maybe even violently, and they're omnipotent. They're a boss. They, nothing, they know what's right and nothing will change. They have the final say. Characteristics of this type of, children living in this kind of style tend to be, not necessarily, but tend to be, they feel impotent, they feel insecure, rebellious, and suppressed emotions. When I think of this style, I immediately think of a friend I had when I was maybe 12, 13, all the way up until 17. Her mom was very authoritarian, and she would boss her around all the time. You have to do this, you have to do that, and she would not explain anything. And her daughter could not, ask why or anything. And she would punish her by spanking her. And when she got a little bit older, she changed the spanking to pinching her. So we have here some punishments, violent punishments that are not, very, very loving. And then my friend, I remember her talking to me that she has all these suppressed emotions and she feels rebellious. And I remember very clearly when she was just 16 years old, she told me that she wanted to have a baby so that way she can have someone to love. So that was very shocking to me and very, it must be very hard to live in this type of parenting style. And so just for us to reflect upon this, I'm sure we all know relationships, parenting styles in all of these styles. And sometimes we act in this style too. We're a mix of all these parenting styles, of course. Let's go to the second parenting style, permissive. Illyrio also says it's unhealthy relationship. He calls it an inverted vertical relationship where the child is on top and the child is boss. So we have it basically inverted. Instead of the parents being boss, the child is. Characteristics of the parents, they lack limits and they lack guidance. Characteristics of the children tend to be poor self-discipline, lack of sense of responsibility, and insecurity. Illyrio has an example here of a 3-year-old girl wanting a makeup kit for her birthday, and like a full adult makeup kit, and she would wear this makeup full on, like, I don't know, like she's on Broadway, he kind of described it, going to school every day, a little 3-year-old, and then the mom thinks that it's so cute, she looks like a little adult. And Illyrio goes and points out, no, it's not cute. The mom needs to put limits in this case. Who knows if this little girl is bringing some tendencies from her past life, perhaps, let's say if it's a prostitute. And in that case, the mom is incentivizing her past ways, right? And we don't want that to happen. So we always want to guide our children to do good and to have age appropriate, behaviors, because we don't know what tendency we can bring up in that child. Uninvolved is also unhealthy, according to Illyrio. It is a horizontal relationship. These are examples of, for example, the parent is on the TV all the time, the parent is on the phone all the time, on Facebook all the time, and not paying attention to the kid, not giving them guidance. And then another example, he says that there are parents who act like their kids' friends, and they will go out to parties with them, and they will have they act like kids themselves because they never actually grew up. And these parents who act like their friends are not giving them guidance because they're just their own friends. So uninvolved. Characteristics of these parents provide little guidance and attention. They may or may not act like their friend or their equal. Characteristics of the children tend to be emotionally withdrawn, fear of depending on others, and orphans with living parents is a phrase that Leo talks about, because since they don't have parents who are involved in giving them guidance, they are practically orphans, but their parents are living. They may be in the other room watching TV, but they're not really their parents. They're not actually in the parenting role that they should be. And the last one, which is the one that we want to strive for, is the authoritative, and he calls it the loving, consensual parenting style. This is the healthy one, where father and mother are, putting limits in a loving way. Characteristics of parents: they enforce rules consistently. They are loving, harmonious, and they create union in the family. They are involved in their children's life, and they dialogue with the family. They explain to them why things are happening. Characteristics of the children: they tend to be confident, responsible, and loving. So this was a lot of concept, I know, and I invite you to go and read more on psychology, because this is in psychology. And let's ask ourselves, how are we doing? I mean, it's not that we are in the loving, consensual parenting style all the time, because we are not perfect. We probably have a mix of all of these different parenting styles, but it's important for us to reflect and see how we can improve ourselves every day. That's what's important. Let's take a look again at Spirit's book 582, continuing. Can parenthood be considered a mission? Yes. However, there are many parents who put more effort into pruning trees in their gardens and making them bear fruit, large crop of fruit, than the time they devote to molding the character of their children. If the child fails and it is the fault of the parents, they will suffer the atonement of their future. And Elihu gives examples of perhaps high class, perhaps families who spend lots of money on their kids. This is why we have here pruning trees, large fruit. Okay, here, have all the toys that you want. Make sure you go to college. I want you to have all these good degrees. And, I'm going to pay for babysitters for you while I go out and, I don't know, have a job or go out and party. But I'm going to give you everything that money can buy, because I'm going to, make sure that my kids are like a large crop of fruit. But they're not devoting their time to molding their child's character. So we have a case here in the book that Elihu talks about. These names are fictitious, but the case is real. We have the father, Alberto, and the mom is Regina, and they have 4 kids. And Regina goes and talks about the situation at home, lots of problems that she's having at home. And I'm going to talk about bullet points, some of the main things that she's complaining about in her family life. She calls it it's practically hell for her to live in her family. She wakes her 4 kids up every day at 5:45. They don't wake up. She goes back at 6. They don't wake up. 6:15. She finally threatens them. Hey, I'm going to take away your computer. You're not going to go out on the weekend. And then they wake up after she threatens them. So they're always rushing to school every day, and it's just a big stress on her every day that this happens. She tells them, why can't you be like me? When I was a kid, I listened to my mom. I woke up on time. I didn't give her any trouble. Why can't you be like me? She says that they rarely behave, and she says the only one that behaves better is Felipe, the 3rd child. And lots of times she tries to compliment him in front of the other kids to kind of inspire them. But she says it just creates even more fights in between them. She says that she kind of tells them if they behave, that she will get them what they want for Christmas. And that gets them to listen for a little while, but soon enough, they're right back to disobeying, as she would call it. She says that she feels very hurt. And she said one time her 5-year-old came and saw her crying, and she had to kind of make up an excuse why she was crying, because she didn't want her little one to know why she was so upset that her family is a living hell for her. She says that her husband Alberto doesn't do anything to put limits, and he thinks it's the responsibility of the mother. But whenever the kids go and invade his space, he will yell, threaten, and even hit them, and then they will listen. She says that her kids are very irresponsible, and she tells that to their face. And she says she can't stand it anymore. She feels like running away and never coming back. So that's the summary kind of how her life is going on. And Larry goes and analyzes it, and he says that the father is emissive. He's not there, right? He's the one that we talked about, uninvolved, and permissive. He doesn't care what they do as long as they don't go into his space. And the mom will go in between permissiveness and authoritarianism. So permissive, like, yeah, do what you want. But then the minute that they disobey, then she goes into authoritarianism. Elira says this is a typical dysfunctional family. And let me see. And he says that there's no alliance between the mother and the father. He is just a co-creator, right? He just provided sperm, but he's not helping her to collaborate with God to help raise the children and to help form their character. But she should always invite him to join the family whenever, instead of being mad at him and you're never involved. No, she should always keep inviting him. Hey, Alberto, what do you think about this? Always trying to invite him. And even if he doesn't take any responsibility, she can, doing her part, modifying the way that she relates to her kids and the way that she acts in the many ways that we just said in the summary I just gave. We see here where Regina fails. She has inconsistent orders. She tells the kids to wake up at 5:45, 6:15. Which one is it? She's not consistent, and the kids know this. She threatens. She says, hey, if you don't wake up, then I'm going to take away your computer. I'm going to take away this and that. Offensive criticism. She tells them to their face that they're irresponsible. She lectures them by saying, hey, why don't you act like I was when I was a kid? I was very good. She compares one of her kids that usually acts good. She compares him to the others. She bribes them saying, hey, if you act good, I'm going to give you something that you want for Christmas. And she masks her feelings. She doesn't say that she's hurt. She tries to hide it from her little girl that, saw what was going on. Where can we succeed? Okay. We could put limits. Okay. Put limits and be consistent. Don't be like lenient. 5:45 is 5:45. Let's wake up at that time. Explain, as I was saying before, according to the kids' age limit. You should always explain, hey, we're not going to watch this movie because the language is inappropriate for your age. Always explain. Teach the law of cause and effect. There are always consequences for what we do inside of family life or outside in life. Explain that there always is consequences. Express our feelings. It's hard for us to live with our feelings bottled up, and it makes it kind of, Elira says, makes it feel like we're trying to be perfect. No, we all have feelings of sadness, of anger, and to keep them suppressed is not healthy for our family. And to always encourage our kids, because we are trying to form their character and pointing them in the right direction to be good. And they will fail many times, but for us to keep encouraging them. Conclusion, parents have the role and the duty of improving their child's character. The collaborative process never ends. As I said, when the kid is 18, 54, 72, you can always collaborate with them by means of suggestion. You should never go and say, hey, do this because this is good for you. No, then you're interfering with their free will, but you can always suggest. Remember that God will ask every mother and father, what have you done with the child which was entrusted to you? I will end with the poem that I started with, followed by prayer and passing. If you have any questions, please, let's talk at the end. We are children of God, and in humanity we are brothers. Temporarily, we have the role as father and mother. Following the law of love, it is our duty to mold the character of our child, however challenging and bold. God invites us to co-create and collaborate with parenthood as our mission. We must strive our best under any condition. Mom connects baby to God and dad connects baby to earth. We are crucial role models since baby's birth. Due to a double umbilical cord, mom has an extra special bond. She has a type of sixth sense. She quickly responds. What do we want in regards to the relationship we have with our child? Do we want her to be wild or lovingly mild? Directive, oriented, and suggestive are the types of parenting roles we can use wisely throughout the years to achieve the goal. Authoritarian, authoritative, uninvolved, or permissive are the parenting styles that could make it right or miss it. To accomplish the mission, we must put limits but be consistent. Pray to God and the good spirits for assistance. Teach her the law of cause and effect, and the consequences we should always explain. Then good character she shall gain. Remind her that no one is perfect and encourage her too, for soon she won't be the babe you once knew. We are children of God, and in humanity we are brothers. Temporarily, we have the role as father or mother. Following the law of love, it is our duty to mold the character of our child, however challenging and bold. Let's close our eyes. Pray to Jesus.